Throughout this summer, FTA facilitated a national conversation to highlight how transit agencies have kept transit open during the most significant public health crises in recent memory. As our country reopened this year, transit agencies unveiled a wide range of strategies to help their communities to be safe and ready for riders. FTA gathered ideas from 3 listening sessions, as well as meetings with transit leaders, industry practices, and social media. Today is the culmination of all we have seen and heard. We will look more closely at successful practices transit agencies are using to renew ridership and show how in areas large, small, urban, and rural, you can adapt these best practices for use on our systems and how you can support both transit systems and your communities. This is particularly timely as we head into September, when kids have returned or are soon to return to school, and more agencies and businesses are reopening and calling back workers to be present in person. At FTA's listening sessions, we heard about many successful communication strategies to boost rider confidence. That is the first best practice we will discuss today. We'll zoom in to showcase ridership campaigns. For example, San Diego MTS created colorful, catchy posts on social media and connected with local media outlets and others in the community to spread its clean ride message. Rural transit agencies, represented by the Community Transportation Association of America, CTAA, are also focused on ways to improve communication with customers who have continued to rely on transit as much or more throughout the pandemic. The second best practice we will discuss is how transit agencies have taken a fresh look at their systems with an eye to review and redesign systems and adjust routes based on where customers want to go. One great example is Miami-Dade's Better Bus program. They're improving accessibility by expanding into new areas as well as adopting enhanced technology. Agencies have also done impressive work to convey their safety improvements. The third best practice we learned from the FTA Transit Renewal listening sessions is communicating that transit is safe has been key to restoring public confidence and encouraging people to get on board. The system I regularly ride here in DC, WMATA, upgraded air filters at stations and facilities and are installing higher grade filters on buses and rail cars. You can learn more about that by watching WMATA's 30-second catchy video featured on our FTA America's Open and Transit is Open webpage. We also were reminded of the importance of partnerships to improve efficiencies, better address community needs, and address inequities as the fourth best practice. The Commuter Rail Coalition described a partnership between Metra and PACE in the Chicago area, funded by Cook County, that launched a fair transit program to reduce fares, integrate fare payment, and increase service. Finally, thanks to participation by transit advocacy groups and city and county organizations focused on how to build back better to meet the needs of communities, our fifth best practice will demonstrate programs to improve equity and reduce greenhouse gases. We'll show how they are smart business decisions for transit systems. The National League of Cities told us about their report, 3 ways that cities can measure and tackle transportation equity, which provides tools to measure commute time to highlight where improvements can be made. We have received a lot of great information, and we certainly do appreciate the outpouring of ideas. Now we will take this to the next level. What best practices might transit agencies adopt to encourage riders to get on board? How might transit agency leaders re-envision their systems and to better serve all members of their communities? What opportunities does the post-pandemic future and the influx of new funding being provided by the federal government under the Biden-Harris administration provide to improve transit? And how do we build back better? For today's summit, we invited some of the 45 speakers who shared their time and brain power with us over the last 3 listening sessions. Today's speakers will address best practices to help transit agencies nationwide reach their goals.
Thank you, Paul. And I want to thank Nuria for putting this together and inviting me on. I guess I'm going to talk about our biggest investment, our workers, the workers, and the key issues facing our members and all transit workers when it comes to safety. They are assaults on transit workers, bathroom access for transit workers, blind spots on buses, air quality, and COVID-19 on transit vehicles, emergency preparedness on the job, mental health and stress in the workplace. Next slide, please. Assaults. Not a week goes by that we don't hear about another attack on one of our members. Our members are faced with death threats. They're spit at, food's being thrown at them. They're slapped, punched, even worse, killed. So solutions to deal with these assaults on operators include effective bus driver barriers. We need better barriers. We need safer barriers. We need a better workplace, workstation on a bus. Better channels of communications on violence toward operators, including threats, meeting with the union, talking with the communities, talking with law enforcement, identifying this, de-escalating training, programs that train operators how to deal with this issue with unruly passengers. Not only that, possibly teach them how to defend themselves like the airlines are doing now so they can protect themselves and not, when they try to protect themselves, be disciplined or even fired. Bathroom access and tight schedules. Access to bathrooms has shown a major cause of stress and physical illness for transit workers. An ATU study found that 80% of transit workers say there is not enough time in their schedules to allow for bathroom access. The ATU solutions include installing transit facility hubs and allowing for quick access for restrooms, adding time to schedules to account for unplanned restroom breaks and increase scheduled times to allow for adequate scheduled breaks. Blind spots. We've been fighting this for a long time. The current American buses have huge blind spots caused by poor bus design with a massive A-pillar and a large left side view mirrors. When a driver makes a left-hand turn, up to 15 people can be blocked by the blind spot. Pedestrians have been killed and injured by blind spots in accidents, and our members have to deal with the stress and the mental stress of that happening, not only being disciplined. The ATU solutions include buses with better design and no blind posts. Buses in Europe have this. We've been talking about this. They use their visual. Their visual has no blind spots and better barriers than we have here. Air quality for COVID-19. Air quality for COVID-19. Air quality on American transit buses is dangerous and leads to increasing disease, death among transit operators, including exposure to COVID-19 and diesel fumes. Exposed to COVID-19, which has infected thousands of frontline transit workers and taken the lives of 160 ATU members. Dangerous fumes. Transit agencies and bus manufacturers need to buy and design vehicles to protect operators and riders using barriers, MV13 filters, fresh air ventilation, and high efficiency filters. Emergency preparedness. In the wake of this tragic San Jose workplace shooting that took place of our 9 members' lives, transit agencies and private transit companies need to implement emergency preparedness plans. A survey conducting the ATU in the wake of the San Jose mass shooting revealed that only 7% of local union leaders believed that their employees had an emergency action plan covering an active shooting situation. The ATU calls for FTA to require all transit agencies to provide and develop emergency preparedness programs that address the full scope of emergencies, including active shooter and situations. And lastly, mental health and stress on the job. Between ongoing pandemic, tight schedules, threats of violence, and the amount of concentrated attention necessary to drive a bus, ATU members work extremely difficult and stressful jobs. Transit agencies have failed to provide the meaningful support for those workers who experience mental health crisis as a result of their job. A tragic example in San Jose, one of our members, Henry Gonzalez, who took his life after suffering from trauma that endured after the murder of our 9 and our union brothers and co-workers. We must make mental health a priority in the workplace, not just after the tragedy like endured in San Jose, we have to end the stigma around asking for help. ATU solution, transit agencies work with unions, develop, identify, and offer EAP programs to make mental health a priority on the job. And I'll end with this. You know, we can't go around saying that we care for our workers, we honor our workers, they're heroes, and all this good stuff and all this good talk, and want to work with them, and then go to the table and propose taking away their pensions, privatizing their jobs, offering zeros, and wanting them to pay more benefits. That just doesn't make sense if you're trying to gain the trust of the workers and talking about caring for them. Thank you.
Now I'd like to turn it over to Administrator Nuria Fernandez to close us out today. Nuria?
Thank you so much, Paul. I really want to thank all of you, all our panelists. What outstanding presentations, and thank you so much for sharing the great work that you're doing. There was a great amount of best practices, and I'm sure that your colleagues around the country are going to be welcoming onto their own systems. It was also an education, a showcase that will help us get closer to our collective goal of renewing transit ridership across America. FTA really stands ready to help however we can by funding strategic transit expansions, improving the state of good repair, and also offering the 21st century technology solutions. It is by creating the transit systems Americans deserve and should expect that we will see transit renewal. There is a number of sources that we're going to be sharing with you, but before I close, I would like to draw your attention to FTA's National Transit Renewal Resource Portal. This comprehensive webpage features best practices, which compiles a wide range of strategies we've heard from FTA's America's Open and Transit's Open, 3 listening sessions, including ridership campaigns, system design review, restoring public confidence in transit safety, leveraging partnerships, and ways to build back better. The portal also includes slides and recordings to all of our transit renewal sessions. We will continue to post this information and all relevant work and studies on ridership renewal and feature social media from our transit partners. So please share this webpage with your colleagues and stakeholders as we want to continue this important national conversation and share the best practices and examples of how to renew public transit ridership. In addition, I also want to highlight our summit collaborators, all of whom have worked closely with us since we began this effort in July. A huge thank you to everyone who participated in our sessions. We asked for your time and your thoughts, and you delivered. So thank you so much. There is information regarding how you can contact us, and it's on the screen. So I want to just say thank you as we end today's session and encourage all of you to follow FTA's social media accounts, where we will continue to highlight ongoing best practices about renewing ridership. That wraps up today's activities, and thanks again for joining us.